we are going to move over, and just to lay a little bit of foundation here. This is all new for us. This is our third live stream. We, I think, kind of dabbled a little bit with this when Tamara was interested in running for some local office. But that just kind of gave us a baseline.
But even before that, I did a lot of just the idea of live streaming.
Sure.
All throughout the several last years, as everyone who follows me knows. But this is different. This is not just me and a phone. I'm going to put up pictures. You should see. We have screens here. We have screens here. We have lights here. We have mics here. We have screens there. We have computers here. We have a dashboard down here. We have another computer over there. Oh, and special lights.
Yes, I like the lights, personally. I think they're interesting.
This is a lark, to say the least.
Well, I think the point is that we want to take this seriously. And, if you're going to do anything, if you're going to do anything, try to do it well. And I think the goal of this next segment is just to say, look it. You don't need to know everything to be able to do good quality videos. And I think that's the whole point. With a few components and just a basic know-how, most everything that I learned that I implement and use, I just watched other YouTube videos from people who've been doing it for years and years, who know the equipment, who can speak coherently about kind of the ins and outs of one device versus another, one camera versus another, one lens versus another, and took all their feedback and distilled it into something where I cared about the price point, making sure that it wasn't so costly that it just became inaccessible. Something that if we started with, say, a good camera and a good lens, that we could add on and kind of array additional equipment and resources around that initial investment. So what this video, or not video, but this discussion is really going to center on is just some of the components that we use. But if you took these components and just added some lighting, you could look and have a feel, an aesthetic, if you will, pretty comparable to what it is that we're doing. So moving into the basics, and I kind of laid this out already, is the actual camera itself. Now, we're using a Sony a6600. This device came out about November of 2019. This is Sony's, kind of top of the line APS-C mirrorless camera. So this is a digital device. It does a 24 megapixel resolution for your still shots, and then it does have a 4K video capture, which we in fact use. So that was actually very important. Now, this is still a camera, so it has very flexible use. This has a wonderful big battery in it. Very good build quality, so it just feels good in your hands. And some of the cool features with this is that it has the image stabilization built into the device. And that's typically not common in APS-C cameras. Because of how this is set up, you can do great low light. And when you see how we have our kind of stage, if you will, set up here, we prefer the low light. I think it just offers kind of a more personal feel to it. So you get great low light. It also has excellent autofocus tracking. So if you're moving around and you select like the face in the image, it will then follow that face through the rest of the shot and consistently ensure that it is focusing on that point without you having to do anything. The other nice part is that it's quiet when it does it. So it's actually really great as far as cameras go, but additionally, and I think the more important thing is that it's accessible. Price-wise, we're not talking about anything that is too involved. The next component, once you have your basic body, if you will, and the nice part is that when you order one of these A6600s, you can order it with just the body, or you can order it with the body and the basic lens. People do great things with just the basic lens. So it sometimes just becomes one of those things that if you have some good lighting and a good lens and you want to get started, look at that as an option. Now, we wanted something that would give a little bit more depth of field, and it just provides a different feel. But I wasn't going to spend the money on a huge, Sony lens, which, don't get me wrong,
no,
they're
you
excellent.
Certainly weren't.
What?
Sorry.
There's always the debate in our house between want and need.
There are differences.
But regardless, no, I actually looked at the Sigma 66 millimeter, and that has an f1.4 DCDN aperture. So just to kind of give you a sense briefly, and actually I do want to pause. There are a couple things I do want to show you on the actual camera before I get to the still of the actual lens itself. Let me go back over here. The cool part, and I forgot to highlight this about the Sony, and then we'll get to the lens. You don't need a monitor to see yourself. The way that lens flips up, you can flip it up and over the top and back of the actual camera itself. So it allows you to see yourself, and it'll flip the image so that you can see yourself as you're doing any videography or you're doing like a live stream. So it's great because it has that additional functionality in it that a lot of devices may not necessarily. So that was just something I wanted to show you, but very capable camera. The 4K on it is stunning, and it provides just simply a lot of flexibility for you. Now, moving over to the camera lens itself, as I said, this is the Sigma. It is a Japanese build, and it is a sturdy, robust build. If you're not going to buy a Sony lens, Sigma is truly kind of a go-to in my experience. We own 2 of them now, and these are hardy lenses. The nice part is that they're compatible with any Sony E-mount mirrorless cameras. And the aperture on this, the nice part, as I said, is it has the f1.4. So it gives you a really wonderful aperture to let in a lot of light. It's great for, again, low light conditions. And it still gives you control over the autofocus. So it becomes a really powerful tool. It's very well suited, in my opinion, for doing live streaming. But it is something that if you want to do still shots with it, powerful, very powerful, and something that you can get in and get wonderful, amazing detail out of shots. But still, if you want to do, pictures of a beautiful vista, sunset, you're dealing with just extremely high quality imagery. But the camera, the lens, if you think of that as kind of the epicenter for doing this, you then want to ensure that you have equipment to then facilitate, as I would describe it, kind of the workflow of doing a production like this. You may see me looking off camera intermittently. Some of that is to be able to administer the transitions between going from the camera over to like a video that Tamara's worked up, or to a presentation like this where I'm doing some still images. We have a tool to facilitate that. I'm using, and I'll pull that up here for you to be able to see. This is the ATEM Mini Pro ISO, and this is the one that I have up and running right now. What it allows you to do is take 4 HDMI video feeds. That can be off of a computer, it can be off of camera, it can be off of multiple cameras, but it allows you to pipe it all into one single device. It also has 2 mic inputs, which is actually really cool because you can set it up so that it will follow the audio from one voice, or excuse me, from one camera to the next. But the audio, it also has the ability for you to adjust compression and equalization and set limits on it. It has great accompanying software. And the cool thing is, and the cool thing about the ATEM Mini Pro ISO is you can hook up a recorder and record not just each of the individual feeds that you have going in through channels 1 through 4. You also have the ability to then go ahead and record the overall output. So when you're doing the live stream itself and you want to have, camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, camera 4, or a computer, all of those will get recorded. And then what you're actually putting out in your live stream, that gets recorded. So if, like as we do this, we do the live stream, and live streams, sometimes the bandwidth will drop because everybody's getting on the internet, in our region at least. Sometimes there's technical difficulties. Sometimes the dogs are barking or the kids are doing things. You still want to be able to ensure that your finished product is everything you want it to be. So the nice part is that you can go back and then edit the components of your live stream. In what we use is we use DaVinci Resolve, and these are all Blackmagic products. It's a brand that does some amazing stuff. There's no kind of aura about it, even though they call themselves Blackmagic. I don't think that they're occultists or peculiar people.
Better not be.
It's more so just the stuff works amazingly, and it does just some very powerful and cool things, but it also is very easy to use.
It's been pretty easy to learn too, and it's funny, I've learned about this much and I can produce decent little basic videos, and I know that, while I know about this much, the depth that I can learn is huge. There's so many different options that I haven't even approached at this point.
Yeah.
So
no, the thing with working with a product like this and the software, even they do their own cameras, is the integration and the synergy between the respective devices into the software and the like. It's just becomes a dream because you're spending less time converting from one format to the other. It makes it that much easier to be able to ensure that you're kind of efficient. Because Tamara will tell you, how long does it take to edit videos, even short ones?
It takes a while.
Yeah. And she's still getting there as far as her skill set.
Yeah.
But you do get to be patient. So anything you can do to pick up efficiency along the way is important. But I do recommend the ATEM Mini. They do an ATEM Mini, in ATEM Mini Pro. This is the ATEM Mini ISO. They do an extreme version. There's different versions based on your needs. This one, though, because Tamara is focused on the video editing, I wanted to ensure that once I figured out how to do it effectively, I could help her process by having the videos kind of already formatted and ready to go for her.
How long did it take you? How long did you start, studying this? How long did it take you to go from, gee, maybe this would be an interesting thing for us to do, to today?
Mind you, it's always fits and starts. I have a Saturday morning where I'm able to actually lay in bed and don't have to work. I'd watch videos. Like anything, you have to put in the time to figure it out, and you get exposure to one person's perspective. You watch another YouTuber, for example, who does reviews on products. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, now that I understand what they're talking about, I can see the difference that they're now discussing. And you just kind of learn the lingo, you learn some of the features, you learn kind of their process, their workflow, and you then start to think, okay, how's this apply to me? I have limited time, limited budget to apply to this. It'd be great if we could just run amok with this, but it's amazing when you have 3 kids and offices.
All 3 of them are not in college yet.
Yeah, one going off to college. There are other, I guess, bleeds on your limited resources.
Priorities.
Yeah, exactly. So we wanted to make sure that we could do something that it didn't feel cheap, but at the same time was still affordable.